Hello, I'm Jamie.
Hello, I'm Mark, and it's time for another episode of Through the Garden Gate. Good evening, Instagram. It's Tuesday night. It's 7:30. It's time for another episode of
Through the Garden Gate.
Live from our boot room as it's throwing it down with rain, so I can't do it in the conservatory or in the shed.
The shed would normally where we would be, but we're doing it in here. We could have done it in the conservatory, but then you wouldn't be able to hear everything that we were saying. So we're in the boot room.
Yep. Exploring the house. Evening, Kate.
Instagram are slowly working through the house.
Slowly working through the house, yes. Let's get Jamie in. In early tonight.
I'm glad you were late.
Only
Because
just.
I was late.
I was trying to get rid of the dog and he wouldn't have it, so sitting there crying.
I was sitting on the computer doing some paperwork and I looked down at my phone and went, oh my God, it's 30.
Time for Through the Garden Gate.
Hey Jamie, imagine if you just kept on going and then you were like, and you looked down at your phone and you were like, oh fudge, I've missed it.
Yeah, that would have been fun, wouldn't it? Yeah. How time flies when you're having fun doing paperwork.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You're going to break the wire.
So you're indoors? What's going on?
I'm indoors, it's raining.
We're indoors, it's absolutely chucking it down. Like this.
Fair weather gardeners, podcasters.
Says you who's inside.
Yeah, for the last 5 weeks.
We're the indoor gardeners. Anyway, like I was saying, we were driving back on from swimming because I've just been swimming.
Yeah.
Me and my mum, and it was going like this on the window screen.
We ain't had any.
It's been sort of on and off all day. Not heavy, but
Not at school, Dad.
No, not a drop. Not a drop here in Norfolk.
It didn't impact me.
So you ain't done the gardening then, George?
no gardening because we were away.
Oh, of course you were, yeah. How did that go? Is it good?
That's good. Yeah, nice little break. Didn't do too much because Steph was recovering from the illness that nearly stopped us from going.
Well, me.
And George had it a little bit, but not as bad as what Steph had it. So
I had it for about a day.
Nice just to do nothing sometimes.
nice, chilled out.
I had it in the night, and then apart from that, in the night. It was that the only time that I had it was in the night.
You still talking about your ill, George?
Yeah.
I'm not ill anymore. I think I'm just still trying to recover.
It's throwing
Okay.
it down in Rutland, where Jenny is as well.
Not here in Norfolk. Joe just said it's not in her part of Norfolk either. No. So where Jenny is then is where our guest is. So he'll have the rain as well.
It'll be somewhere not getting rained on. Are you going to do your garden, in fact, then?
Yes, I will.
Go on, then.
I can. Trees survive without their leaves by entering a state of dormancy where they slow their metabolism and rely on energy nutrients stored in their roots and trunks.
Because they can't.
I didn't come up with that. You came up with that because
What can't they do if they haven't got any leaves, George?
Just used a
Do you know what the process is that the leaves do, George?
no
Photosynthesis.
photosynthesis.
That's how they make their energy.
What's your hypothesis?
Hypothesis.
Yeah. What is your that?
Throw it out. Complicated.
Where did you learn that from?
What is your hypothesis?
think you learn it at school yet. No, I don't know what year you learn photosynthesis. Must be first year
Maybe
high
year
school,
7.
must it?
First year of secondary, maybe.
Yeah.
Do you know any
Not
other
long.
long words?
Metabolism.
Metabolism.
All right, George, what's a long plant name, flower name?
I know my Kepra full name.
Go on then. What's that?
Lever something.
Okay.
Leveriscum, I think.
Leverocorpus. What about supercalifragilisticexpialidocious?
I was thinking of chrysanthemum.
Chrysanthemum. That's in
That's a
flower
big
now.
word.
Squispananson.
Chrysanthemum.
I can remember having
Chrysanthemum.
chrysanthemum as a school spelling test, probably about your age, and I learned that and off by heart over and over and over again. So I think I was the only person in the class to get that.
Charles Dickens.
I don't think I'd be able to spell chrysanthemum now without doubting myself.
I can.
Right, go get in your bath, Trouble.
Dear George.
Yeah.
So it says osteospermum.
I bet Matthew can name some long plant names.
I'm sure he can.
There is.
Oh, look, I tried to write it and I still can't do it.
I tried to show off. Did you get it right?
Of course I did. Because I just said chrysanthemum.
Christ.
I thought that there's a H in it still. I don't. I still done it wrong. No, it is H. It is CHRYSANTHEMUM.
Chrysanthemum.
Mum.
Let's break it down into little words.
Exactly. That's what I still have to do. With lots of spelling. When you're dyslexic, you have to find ways of doing stuff.
And lodging it in your memory.
And that one stuck for the last 37 years or something.
Joe's put it.
See? She has. Just copied mine, Joe.
Does it actually have the H in it?
Yeah, CHRYSANTHEMUM.
Okay. I think that's where I'd go wrong. I'd miss the H. It's almost chrysanthemum.
Try.
Yeah.
So I've had another week of doing nothing in the garden.
No gardening.
No time. No time because we've got ginger things to look after.
And horses.
Horses. I don't do too much of them. And work and everything else. So I ain't been out there. Luckily, it's this time of year and not probably, July or something.
Yeah, lots to harvest now, but not as much to be doing, luckily.
There's still loads out there. I still got loads. Looked in the polytunnel yesterday and went, oh my God, look at all the red tomatoes.
So many tomatoes.
Tons of them. I need to get a big old cooking day and just cook them all down and make some big batch of sauce. I can hear a dog. You said you got rid of him.
I have a great way to remember the spelling of it. Schultzia. Right, quiz him on that when he gets in.
I need to sow broad beans. I need to sow my onion sets. I need to sow loads of stuff, but there's no chance. I need to empty beds. I need to mulch beds. Time just ticks away, and now it's pitch black at blooming 4:30.
4 o'clock.
It's horrendous, isn't it? There's no time to do anything. And the weekend comes round, and there's so much else to do as well. But don't let it get on top of you. A dash.
He thinks there's something interesting in there for some reason.
Yeah.
Don't know.
George is watching.
Great.
With all the winds and the rain, I've been making my seed and bare roots list. Oh, yeah, good thinking, yeah.
Yeah, I wrote some list this morning.
I need to go through my seeds before I even dare to buy any more. But about you, we always go through the seed box and tidy up, and now it's an absolute mess. Is that your seed box all nice and tidy?
Well, that's the seed box, that's the seed box, and then that's a box of goodies from Simply Seed.
Yeah. Mine are horrendous because they never get put back in the right place, or they don't even get put back in. Sometimes they get put next to it.
Still out in the greenhouse.
No, they're in the garage, but not in the greenhouse. I never keep them there in case obviously it gets hot and stuff, isn't it? But yeah,
Or the mice eat it.
that's the thing. I'll go in there and find them all, and they'll all be nibbled. That'd be a shame. I have to throw them all away and start fresh.
Just what you need.
Yeah. Right. Stop all this glumness about gardening.
Let's get some positivity in the room.
Yeah, let's.
So tonight we have a returning guest from episode number 75, back in February. Since then we have met him in person and seen his awesome band The Lokies play live. It is the garden designer and GQT panellist, Matthew Rumford. Right. I know, I had to really think about that. Even though they've written down. Hey.
Good evening.
How you doing?
Not too bad, you?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks.
Good.
Not too shabby, as they say.
Right, before we start,
yeah,
I got a bone to pick with you.
Uh-oh. Go on then.
What did I ask you just as you was leaving before on the last episode?
Oh God. Now you put me on the spot.
Can't remember, Mark, can you?
I can barely remember what I had for breakfast. So please, you'll have to remind me, and then I can be ashamed with full knowledge rather than my current situation, which is ashamed without the knowledge of what I should be ashamed about.
Honestly, it's not that bad. But I said, next time you're on Gardener's Question Time, try and do a line with Through the Garden Gate on it.
Ah, right. Okay. I am on. I'm going to make a note because we've got a recording coming up early December in Newcastle, and I will get a mention in.
Fantastic. Right? Yeah.
I'm going to write it on my hand and then not have a shower between now and no, I'm not. Disgusting. But I will make a note. I'll make a note in my diary, and then I will absolutely do it. Yeah.
Brilliant.
How are you both? You all right?
Yeah. Apart from the bit of garden blues, I've got it. I've had it for a couple of weeks. I think it's because I haven't got any time to do anything.
Well, you don't, do you, this time of year? You suddenly realise how important those extra hours when we have, daylight all the way through to 10 o'clock at night or whatever, or even just to like 8 o'clock makes a huge difference. And the moment the darkness is here before most people have packed up work for the day, it's suddenly your gardening activity is really restricted to the weekend if you're just a hobby gardener. And it's tough. I've always had my struggles at this time of year with the weather and with the shorter days, and I have to kind of really try and keep looking forward and I try and do things that really help to lift me out of any potential feeling of blueness.
Yeah,
but it's difficult.
So do you mean when you do have some time, you find something which gives you more gratification?
I think what I try and do, in terms of things in the garden, I will try and do things where there's either a heightened level of physical exertion, so I really feel that I've done something. I find that really helps. Or alternatively, which is not so much this side of Christmas, but after Christmas. So one of my absolute favourite jobs is pruning. I love pruning, and I get a tremendous amount of joy from winter pruning my espalier fruit, or taking the climbing roses off the wall and pruning them and putting them back, or whatever it might be. You know, that sort of thing I find, or you know, or doing a bit of crown lifting on a tree and just shaping it up or whatever. I find that doing something creative, which is obviously where music comes in for me as well, but in the garden, that really, really helps. And it kind of distracts you from the fact that the lawn's turning into a bit of a mud bath and you can't really get on the beds. And if you do get on the beds, they, you know, squishy and horrible.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so do something that you can step back and think, right, I've just done that and it looks wow. And
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I've got
No,
my Bramley needs trimming very soon, so that's a big job. That's a whole weekend, so I'm going to look forward to that. I think, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
So last time we saw you, Matthew, you were up on stage.
I was.
It was
yeah, it was great to meet you.
Fantastic night. That was really, really good.
Oh, it's kind of you. Yeah, it was great fun. It was that was obviously the sort of launch of our album in Uppingham, which is our local town in Rutland, and it was really, really great fun. And we're sort of you know, we're talking just before we kind of get to the end of the cycle of kind of gigging the album, because we've got a gig coming up in London in a couple of weeks' time, and then we'll do another little one locally here. So yeah, it's been a great fun over the last few months, and we're already looking ahead to the next album and getting back in the studio, and you know, we've been sort of writing songs, and yeah, it's a great. Well, I think, as I said before, it's just a great thing to do in the autumn of one's years. You know, to you know, be able to. You know, I'm very, very lucky. I get to express myself creatively through my job, and then I've got a brilliant side hustle, you know, expressing myself musically, which is great.
I suppose it's really good. You are lucky because you do, your job is what you love, and your hobby as well is, you know, what you love as well. Fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, and at the two, you know, I've always loved words. I've always been able to write, and you know, write creatively, and that's something that I was able to do from quite a young age. And so that's something that's throughout my life has manifested itself in different ways. It's been some, you know, when I was younger, it was short stories and poetry, and then for many years, you know, in and out of bands, writing songs, writing lyrics. And then for the last, you know, 25, 30 years, writing books on gardening and writing for newspapers and magazines and all that sort of stuff. And now full circle back to writing songs and that sort of stuff again. So, yeah, I love the, I love what you can do with words. You know, I find words fascinating, and I find it really something that I never get bored with. I never get bored of, rather. There's always something there to come back to look at, and to sort of, you know, delve into. I was writing a song the other day, which I don't know why, but I got this idea in my head that I was going to write a song called Edward the Confessor. Not about Edward the Confessor, but I thought that's an interesting title for a song, Edward the Confessor. You know, what could you do with that? And it essentially it sort of manifested itself as a song about someone confessing or facing up to the fact that they've been a really, really terrible husband and partner. So that's basically the gist of it. And I went into this deep dive of what can you rhyme with confessor? And my favourite word, which I managed to get into the song, is Beckmesser.
And what does that even mean?
Precisely. What does Beckmesser mean? It means someone who is highly pedantic and critical of musical composition without actually having the talent to do so.
Wow.
And I got Ed the Beckmesser in the song.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's anything to make somebody listen to it again, just to hear what that word was.
Yeah, well, and maybe look it up. You never know.
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, so I write. I love writing now. So I write for our local paper, just a little gardening column every week. And I sit there and I write what I've done.
Yeah.
To write a song, you haven't got that background, have you? I've got, right. So I've done this week. I've planted my bulbs, this, that, and I put it all together. But to write a song must be completely different.
I think you have to sort of put yourself. Well, there's different ways of doing it. So you can either write from a very confessional perspective, and I think when you're younger, and arguably, you've got a lot more angst in your life. There's probably more source material. I'm not going to say it's easier, but there's more source material when you're younger. Because you're getting heartbroken and let down and all of those things. And hopefully, by the time you've hit your middle age, you're facing a different set of challenges, problems. We all have things that continue to pose themselves or formulate themselves as challenges goes away. But so you can either write from that perspective, which I sometimes do, or sometimes I'm writing from the point of view of putting myself into a different story, or putting myself into somebody else's story and writing from their perspective. So, one of my favourite songs lyrically that I've written is called "Rent Free," and it's about a sociopath, basically. It's not autobiographical, I promise you. It's about a narcissistic sociopath, and this idea of basically deliberately sabotaging a relationship to give yourself source material for writing songs. Wow. So yeah, I haven't done that, honest. So yeah, no. So but I think I wouldn't. I mean, I'd love to be able to have more time to write. I've got 4 unfinished novels which I've started and well are not finished. And I'd love to at some point take myself off with just one of those and finish it for my own benefit as much as anything. I don't have any great ambition for them at all. My dad was a great writer, bless him. He was really really talented, more talented than me, and wrote some brilliant short stories, like kind of gothic, like gothic horror stories almost. But with a real, you can imagine them being like the sort of script for Tales of the Unexpected, and if you remember that, and and he was really clever, but he just kind of stopped, sadly, and when he passed away, I found loads of stuff that he'd written, which was really great, and I kind of think when I have some time, keep saying when I have some time, work has been manic. Anyway, that's a good thing. But when I do eventually have some time, sitting down, and I'd love to sit down and kind of go through and put it all together in a way that is, is structured and legible, and, maybe even kind of do a little book, produce a little book of it, just for my own benefit, really, and the family. Yeah.
I bet that was amazing to find all that you didn't even know was there, that he'd written.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's extraordinary when your parents, pass away, the stuff that you find, and the stuff that they've kept, and going through my mum's stuff, and there's all the kind of Mother's Day cards that I made for her. It's kind of quite.
It's making a hair stand up on the back of my neck now, just thinking about it. It must be amazing.
Well,
Brilliant.
I mean, it's difficult. God, I'm really bringing the mood down, aren't I? But it's have to talk about something a bit more upbeat in a minute. But yeah, I
We'll
mean,
drag it back up in a minute.
yeah, but we all accept that that's something in life that we will go through, and our parents, and as a parent myself, I certainly hope that my kids go through it rather than it being the other way around. So you know that it's going to happen, and then you have these sort of poignant moments, and it's something that can be emotional, but it can also be rather beautiful as well, I think.
Definitely. Yeah. Back to the low keys.
Oh, yes.
This London gig? It's
Yes.
a bit of a special venue, isn't it?
Well, we're playing a venue called the Water Rats, which, if anyone knows the area around King's Cross, North London, Water Rats has been a feature for. Well, it was renamed the Water Rats when it was bought by the Honourable Company of Water Rats, which is a kind of entertainment brotherhood. I think people like Bob Monkhouse and people like that were Water Rats. Its history as a venue was originally musical going back, but the building, the pub, I believe it goes back to the 1600s. So it's been it's been a tavern for a very, very, very long time. And it became the Water Rats. But it's hosted some amazing artists over the years. Bob Dylan played his first UK concert ever there.
Wow.
Oasis played their first London gig there.
Cool.
Slightly lesser known, but a band that I absolutely love, the Decemberists. They played their first UK gig there. All sorts of people. Katy Perry.
Oh.
All sorts of weird and wonderful people. And I actually played there with one of my old bands 35 years ago. I played there. So it's yeah. So I was a child prodigy, obviously.
Of course you were. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it's going to be great. It's one of those evocative, little London live music venues. It's only 200 capacity. It's completely sold out. So please, if you're thinking of coming, don't come because it's sold out. But you can sit in the bar and listen, I guess. And with 200 people in there, it's going to be, sweaty. But it'd be great. And we've got a brilliant Ellie, my co-vocalist. Her partner Beth is our special guest, so she's playing before we go on, and she's got the most incredible voice. And she just it's just her and a guitar, and so she's our special guest for the night. And then we'll go on and play for an hour and 15 minutes and reassure everyone that we'll finish before the last train, so that they don't get I was thinking about that the other day, actually, that when I was growing up in Kent, grew up in near Sevenoaks in Kent, and me and my mates would have this kind of collective fib that we would tell our parents. It was the classic, oh yeah, I'm staying at John's, oh yeah, I'm staying at Chris's, oh yeah, round in a big circle.
Yeah.
We'd all be staying at each other's houses. We must have been about 15, 16, something like that. And then we'd get on the train and go up to London and go to gigs. And these were gigs that were predominantly 18 plus. So what we'd all split up and we'd kind of go in with a group of older people. So we looked like we were with them, even to the extent of going, oh yeah, like pretending we were chatting to them on the way in. We went to some brilliant gigs. And then we'd get the milk train home. And the milk train, I mean, I don't even think it exists anymore, but we used to go to Charing Cross Station, which was, our station back to Sevenoaks, and you'd get on the train, and I mean, God, this is it feels like it's talking about, steam trains. It feels so long ago, but it wasn't, honestly. And you get on the train, crash out, basically, and then at about 4 o'clock in the morning, the train would move off. and on it would go, and then we'd all pile out at Sevenoaks, and I remember we didn't. We were a good 6 mile walk from Sevenoaks, and then we'd all go and like walk back to this woodland near where we collectively all lived, and like sleep for about an hour in the woods, and then make our way home. With this, and we got away with that for months, I think, from memory, until one of the parents worked out, hang on a second, that doesn't quite work out, and then we were rumbled, and then that was the end of that for a while. But there we go. It's funny, isn't it? Now, if I go to a gig, all I'm thinking, I'll enjoy the gig, but I'm like, oh, I hope this doesn't overrun. I've got to get the train, or I've got work tomorrow. I must get back to the car before the car parking runs out. Back then, all I was worried about was, I wasn't worried about anything. Just get on the train, crash out, get the train home.
Brilliant. Absolutely.
But yeah, we're looking forward to this gig. It'll be really good fun. There's going to be people there. We've all got, still got, because we're all from various places originally, and have ended up here in Rutland. And so we've got sort of friends coming who live in London still and the southeast, but we've also got friends coming down from here on the train to come and see us. So it'll be great fun. Yeah.
Sounds good. Mark's just paused his screen. If you lean over to your left a bit, Mark.
Oh, look at that! That's a handsome looking. I'm talking about you, Mark, but that's a very handsome thing over your shoulder too. Look at that.
So
very nice.
That's your album.
Yeah, it is, with the red kite on the cover. My favourite bird. Absolutely love. Well, it's my joint favourite bird with the barn swallow, because the barn swallow for me is always that sort of that there's that rising excitement when you start seeing swallows that yes, I know there's one swallow doesn't make it spring and all the rest, or doesn't make it summer rather. However, I love them. I always feel that rising excitement, but I also love red kites, and we have a lot of red kites around us here, and they're just the most extraordinary birds. They really are wonderful. So I was very glad to get that on the
numbers
cover.
are growing, aren't they? Massively.
They are.
Red kites. I can't ever remember seeing a bird of prey when I was a kid, ever.
Well, in the
now
1960s. Yeah. Well, in the 1960s, when because of the widespread use of broad spectrum herbicides and pesticides, and we, now when you think about this, it's quite mind-boggling, really. And obviously, it's still an ongoing battle, because we still have the issues around neonicotinoids and honeybees. But in the 60s, when Rachel Carson wrote Silent Spring, which is, if anyone is interested in sort of broader environmental issues, read Silent Spring. It's the most extraordinary, jaw-dropping, and also shocking book. And she would be on my sort of dream dinner party, dinner party of the dead card.
Oh, wow, yeah.
She would be in the mix. Rachel Carson, she's amazing writer and scientist. But she was one of the people who were instrumental in joining the dots between broad spectrum pesticides and herbicides getting into the food chain right at the bottom, at the insectivorous level. So you then have poisoned insects being eaten by small mammals, the small mammals then being eaten by raptors, and then what was happening was essentially it was getting into it wasn't killing the raptors, but it was making their eggshells so thin that they weren't viable. So the eggs would basically break instantly, before before there's any particular growth in there, and so that was kind of finished it for red kites, goshawks. I mean, red kites were also persecuted as well, but in Britain in particular, goshawks, peregrine falcons, buzzards, numbers absolutely collapsed. And that was a global phenomenon, and that's part of the reason why she wrote Silent Spring, was this sudden notion of going into the countryside and just not seeing anything or hearing anything, and this sort of spectre of a world in which wild animals were almost invisible because of what we were doing to the planet. But yeah, the reintroduction program of red kites has been absolutely phenomenal. One of the great success stories, really. Yeah, and Rockingham Castle down the road from here was one of the centres of the red kite reintroduction scheme, which is why we have a lot around here.
Yeah, they're brilliant. They're everywhere around here in Norfolk, absolutely everywhere.
Yeah,
Red kites and buzzards, and kestrels, lots of kestrels as well.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah,
really,
I actually
really
saw a
nice.
goshawk the other day, which
Don't think I've ever seen one.
they're pretty rare. I was amazed to see one, and of course, Rutland Water is only 2 miles from where I'm sitting. Where, of course, in the summer we have ospreys, which is amazing.
Wow,
They are amazing birds, absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
You really have to get on the water to see them. You go out and there's you can do this brilliant osprey breakfast ride on the Rutland Bell, which is a little launch that goes off very early in the morning, just after sunrise, and you go out onto the water, and the captain sort of takes you out close to the feeding areas where the ospreys are nesting, and you'll just see them, swooping in and taking fish out of the water in front of you. It's the most extraordinary thing. And you kind of do that for an hour or so and just get all these incredible sightings of osprey, and then go back to the RSPB centre and have a lovely breakfast and a chat and a coffee, and then everyone heads off home. It's a really great thing to do in the summer. Can't recommend it highly enough.
Oh, that sounds good. Osprey are quite big, aren't they? They're bigger than buzzards.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
lovely. Yeah, can't beat a bird of prey.
No, I love them.
Definitely. Yeah. Should we talk about some gardening?
Let's do it. As he peers into the darkness, wondering where his garden is, somewhere out there.
No, it's terrible. To be honest, I don't really want to look at my back garden in the state it's in at the
moment. Mine was looking okay. It was holding up all right. There was not, it's been a decent long autumn, hasn't it? Because we had such a great, that one of the upsides of the long dry summer and spring has been that autumn has been incredibly intense. The colours have been incredibly intense, and everything's hung on. We haven't really had, we've had one big storm, which has kind of clobbered things a bit, but up until that point, it was looking really good. And then my kids, who were 16-year-old twins, they had a party at the weekend. They had like a Halloween party, and garden's a mess now.
Oh dear.
It's all a bit muddy where they were tramping up. I mean, they're lovely kids. Their friends are all lovely, but they're out dancing on the lawn, and I don't want to know really. Anyway, we just leave them to it.
Oh dear.
Yeah, but yeah.
But you said about colour. I know autumn colour is the leaves and things, but the colour of the dahlias and all the plants is still going crazy. Mine are.
Yeah.
No frost yet.
No, that's it, isn't it? I mean, flowering plants will carry on flowering until you get frost, persistent frost. And so in our garden, I mean, I think the last rose to flower that carries on flowering, we have several Winchester Cathedral, which were in my 2016 Chelsea garden, and which I squirreled away and brought back here. And they just carry on going until till the first frost. So they've got flowers on them. There's some of the perennial geraniums, they're still flowering. Obviously the seed heads of things like sedum herbs fruit, that's still going. I mean, it's a seed head, but it still looks like a flower. And then, in the front, we've got now sort of a couple of gravel garden areas that we've got where things just don't want to stop, really. I mean, what I must do, I keep meaning to do. I'm very good at adding spring bulbs to the garden, but what I'm less good at is adding autumn bulbs. And I've made it my mission. Next spring, I'm going to do much more with planting things like Schizostylus and and Narinis
Narines,
and
yeah.
that sort of thing. I really want to add more of that kind of color, because there's a few. This is the village that we live in. There's a lot of keen gardeners in this village, and some of them have got those kinds of plants. Every time I see them, I think, well, I've really got to up my autumn bulb game, and colchicums as well. Just you know, uh, just adding more autumn color. I think, because I think that the notion that we used to have of the gardening season being really focused on spring and summer, I think that's gone really. I think people
Mm.
now really want to see a lot more interest, and they expect more interest, and they kind of aspire to having more interest. Of course, there's so many plants that you can grow that are, they're not necessarily ones that are specialists that come into flower at a particular time of year, but they just hold their interest for a long period of time. I've got quite a few miscanthus in the garden, and
Hmm.
obviously, they look fantastic in late summer, but they just carry on going. They don't stop looking interesting until, right the way until you have to cut them back in the spring. They're looking good. And my real favourite is Calamagrostis brachytricha, which is the Korean featherweed grass, and it has these sort of purpley inflorescences in late summer, mid to late summer, but then at this time of year they kind of go a ghostly white, and the stems and the foliage go quite a light strawy colour, and the whole thing,
Mm.
it just kind of, in the gloom in the evening, it just kind of pops out of the garden, and it's so beautiful. I love it, absolutely love it. I'm a
Mm.
big fan of grasses, and I'm not a fan of grasses for the sake of grasses. I like grasses with other plants. I think they complement other plants really, really well, and I try and use them in every garden that I design. But I occasionally have clients who say no grasses.
No way.
Yeah.
They haven't
No
learned
way.
yet.
No. One
Well, I
of
mean,
my.
I have to give them what they want, and I have a lovely client at the moment who was very much, she was like, no, there will be no grasses in this garden, so there are no
Mm.
grasses.
Mm.
So then I try and use plants that have got sort of the similar texture in the foliage, things like Libertia, and or crocosmias or whatever, because I think that it's the shape of the foliage, which I think is quite an important factor
Yeah.
to add to the textures. I was going to talk. You were talking about plant pronunciations earlier on before I came
Mm.
on. So they are hard to. I remember thinking back to when I was at college and learning botanical Latin, and thinking, oh, this is a pain in the backside, and then trying to find ways of remembering things. And there were certain plant names that just, because they sort of trip off the tongue so beautifully, are very, very lodged in my brain. My favourite plant name, just to say, is Metasequoia glyptostroboides. I mean, it's just such a lovely thing to say. Oh, Metasequoia glyptostroboides. Metasequoia glyptostroboides. You can kind of, you can apply it to lots of situations. But I've sent a little message about a Schultzia, which is a beautiful, cheery, sunny, lovely, friendly little plant, the Californian poppy,
Mm.
which unfortunately has been bestowed with a really crappy name. A Schultzia is not a great name. It's named after a Russian ship surgeon called August Escholtz. That's why it has that name. He was sailing down the coast of California in the 1830s, I think, and probably said something like, I've discovered a new plant, to which the indigenous people probably would have said, no, you haven't. Anyway, but my trick with the Schultzia because it's ESCHSCHOLZIA. You just put it to the theme tune of Robin Hood. ESCHSCHOLZIA, ESCHSCHOLZIA, and you'll never forget it.
Yeah,
Now,
brilliant.
Yeah,
Brilliant. It is strange how you come up with all different
you know,
ways.
epimediums, happy mediums. That's what my dad used to call them. Happy mediums. You know.
Yeah.
yeah, you've got to do
I
that.
surprised myself.
One of my team members we were talking about today, and I was telling her that the echi part of echinacea and echinops and all of those sort of things comes from the word for hedgehog.
Yeah, echidna. Yeah.
Yeah. So now that's going to stick because you just think hedgehog, spiky, echi.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, a lot of botanical Latin has descriptive a descriptive aspect to the specific epithet, you know, which is actually quite helpful, you know. So, you know, once you know what it means, once you know that praecox means that it flowers before it produces leaves, then you know that you know when a plant has the name, you know, praecox after its generic action, like, oh yeah, okay, so that's what that means. Or you know, obvious ones like horizontalis immediately tells you what it does. You know, so those sorts of things, once you can, you know, if you get yourself a copy of Plant Names Simplified, which I got when I was at college, the little black book, Plant Names Simplified. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's just a brilliant book, you know, and I will still refer to that for, you know, pronunciations and whatever. But plant names by and large do kind of make sense if you delve into them a bit. It's just that some are a little bit unpronounceable, and then you spend ages, you know, I don't know whether I mentioned this the last time I was on, but you know, then you kind of spend ages thinking that you know the name of a plant. Like Choisya tenata is a classic, right? Everyone calls it Choisya tenata, and I was doing a Gardeners Question Time in York, and I said, oh, of course, some people, you know, I heard someone refer to Choisya tenata as Schwazia. And after the recording, this chap came up to me, a gentleman called George Smith, who was very good friends with Beth Chatto, who was a florist, in fact, quite a famous florist, passed away now, but he came up to me and went, just so you know, my dear fellow, Choisya, named after a French botanist called Choisy. So actually it is Choisya. And they went, Choisya, darling.
You have been told.
Yeah.
And you have to say it with that posh accent as well.
Choisya. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, I find myself, you know, I shock myself sometimes, and I words pinging. I've never really gone in depth into learning Latin, but you know, I'm walking down the street and all of a sudden it pings in and I know what it is. And my wife goes, "Oh my God," she's just absolutely amazed that I can know things like that.
It has been, without question, one of the loveliest aspects of doing what I do, going to college, learning about plants, learning plant names, learning about being able through that learning to associate plants with their habitats. So it's not just, you know, so it's all about the context. So you can see something and you understand why it's there. Yeah. I love it. I love being able to go for a walk in the countryside and I know what I'm looking at. And that's not because I want to show off to anyone. I just really, I love the fact that that knowledge is there in my head, and that it kind of makes everything feel more engaging and more, you know, just I can just relate to everything more because I know what it is and why it's there, and I've learned so much. For when I lived in Yorkshire, I lived very close to the River Ure, and every spring there were all the way down the banks of the river, there was these masses of snowdrops, like incredible sheets of snowdrops going right down to the water's edge. And they just looked so fabulous. And then they'd be followed by Turk's cap lilies. You know, they would come through. It's quite extraordinary. But the really extraordinary thing was this is a river that regularly ups and overs. You know, like most rivers, you get, you know, severe inundation, and it will burst its banks. And so the bulbs of those snowdrops, in some instances, they were like a meter below the ground, because
Wow.
the silt had been built up and built up and built up on top of them, and yet they were still coming through and still flowering, with extraordinary vigor. I mean, and then there'd be other areas where they'd be right on the surface, because the silt, you know, the silt had been completely washed away, and you could see the bulbs. They were like somebody had scattered pearls all the way along the banks of the river. It was just extraordinary, and that sort of having that understanding of plants and being able to apply it both to the natural environment, but also our gardens, I think is something that is incredibly important towards, if we're going to continue to enjoy our gardens and have gardens that are more resilient and more capable of dealing with the kind of summer that we've just had, for example, spring and summer that we've just had. I think the more we can understand that, the more we can understand how plants grow, where they want to grow, where they don't want to grow. That's the key to kind of unlocking successful gardening, I think.
Yeah, definitely. You would think that them snowdrops would just run out of energy by the time they've
I
grown that
know.
much, wouldn't you?
I know. I guess the one thing in their favour was that the soil is incredibly light and silty and sandy, so they probably don't have to work that hard to get through. And I guess also it's probably not a permanent situation, because obviously the banks of the river are always moving, changing. So I guess one year they might have a foot of soil over them, the next year it could just be a couple of centimetres, and the next year it could be more or less, or in between. So I guess it's this sort of constantly moving target, really. Plants. I've always been amazed by plants and fascinated by plants, and I continue to be. And this summer has been a classic example of, another area of learning in terms of the kind of resilience and characteristics of plants, for sure. Things that do well and things that haven't done well.
You keep hearing about people saying, "Oh, we're going to have to buy and plant, drought-tolerant plants," but we're still getting floods. We're still getting so much rain as well.
I think the issue is that it's not. It would be so much easier if climate change was this, because we'd be so much more prepared for it, wouldn't we? We'd know that next summer's going to be 0.2 of a degree warmer than this summer and the one after, but whatever it might be. But of course it isn't. It's this. And that's what makes it, so the long-term graph is probably doing that, but around it's like an ECG, isn't it, in a hospital? It's all over the flipping place. And that, of course, is a massive challenge for every aspect of our lives, because we can't really begin to. It makes it a lot harder to mitigate for that. You can't just suddenly say, "Oh, yeah. Let's all fill our gardens with drought-tolerant plants," because that's not going to work. And it's only going to work if your garden has the right aspect and the right soil type and all of those kind of things. But I think you can certainly look towards using plants in more of a kind of like a plant community, so plants that want to be together, if you know what I mean. I think that is probably where the future lies is using things that actually really genuinely want to be together and want to grow together and are happy to grow together, rather than thinking that you can shoehorn something in, that is totally counter to everything else, because that feels like a kind of route to disappointment, really.
Mm.
To suddenly plant something that just simply doesn't want to grow. I mean, I think when I worked at Hyde Hall for the RHS, the couple who started the garden there, Helen and Dick Robinson, they very much, they were kind of your classic post-war, very keen gardeners who wanted to try everything. They wanted to, and I'm not decrying that at all, because that's part of the joy of gardening, isn't it? Is trying things, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't work and whatever. But they were, they were doing it on such a scale that it had some quite significant environmental impacts, like, bringing in tons and tons of peat and aluminium sulfate to acidify the soil so they could grow rhododendrons on top of a hill in Essex. I mean, it's just never going to work, is it? I mean, they managed to get them going, for sure, but after 20 years, they all gave up the ghost. And it's a bit like, seeing Mecanopsis. I saw these. Went to a garden in the Borders in Scotland and saw this. I can't remember the name of the garden, which is really annoying, but it might come to me later. This dell of Mecanopsis, quite a few different species and varieties of Mecanopsis. I was actually there to do a bit of filming for Gardener's World, and it was incredible. I sat in this dell for about an hour, being absolutely eaten alive by midges. But the Mecanopsis was so overwhelmingly beautiful. That iridescent blue, there's nothing like it. There really is nothing like it. And it's a little bit like that sort of situation is a little bit like, feeling that you've got to take a photograph of everywhere you go. I realized that sitting there, as I was being eaten alive by midges, that I should have covered my body with a skin so soft, because that would have helped, and and B, that moment, that wonderful moment of being there, surrounded by those plants, that was it. I shouldn't need to feel that I need to then try and take that and try and make it happen at home, because it's never going to happen in a million years. I'm never going to be able to grow a dell full of Mecanopsis in my own garden. I don't have the soil type. I don't have the right climatic conditions, and I don't have the patience either, actually, to keep propagating them and replanting them, which is what you really have to do, because they're absolute slug and snail bait. So, I think sometimes with gardens and plants, it's great to just enjoy them in their situation, in the place in which you find them, and then enjoy what you can do in your own garden.
Yeah, definitely.
Try and recreate something you're never going to do.
No. Yeah, I went to an amazing garden in California, which is, I think, when I'm asked what's my favorite garden, this is the garden that I genuinely think it is my favorite garden. I've only ever been there once, whereas a lot of the other gardens that I really like I've been to many times, but it's had such a lasting impact on me. It's called Lotus Land, or the full name is Ganawalska Lotus Land, and there was a garden there in the 1920s, and then this opera singer, Polish opera singer called Ganawalska, and her first husband bought the land and this kind of nascent garden. I think Monty Don went there actually in his 80 Gardens Around the World or whatever it's called. I'm pretty sure he did. And there's two things there's multiple things that are extraordinary about it, actually. But what had a lasting impact on me is that the way the garden is organised in terms of your experience as a visitor is very, very different to the way in which we visit gardens. I don't know whether this is something that is across the board with gardens in America. I don't think it is, because I've been to places like Longwood and that sort of thing, and it's definitely not that experience there. But because it's a relatively small garden, it was someone's garden. You go around in a very, very, very small group of people. I think there were 6 of us. It was myself, my wife, and 4 other people, and the person who was taking us around. And it was, we were given a time slot, and so we felt as if we had the garden to ourselves, because we did.
Mm-hmm.
And the house was a beautiful, hot, sunny day. It's just outside Santa Barbara, the garden, and the windows were open and the doors were open in the house, and there was opera playing on the record player, and you could hear the sound of the opera kind of wafting out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt as if we were in her garden, in Ganna's garden, in a person's garden. It wasn't, oh, this is a visitor attraction. It was someone's garden. It had that real sense of personality from an experiential point of view, but it also had a sense of personality from a context and content point of view, because the way it's planted is so extraordinary. It is mind-boggling. So it's a garden of rooms like Sissinghurst or wherever, Hidcote or whatever. But the content of the rooms is bonkers in a brilliantly engaging way. So you're going to one room. Well, you walk into one room, and to get into one room, hedged room, you go through topiary, which looks as if it's come out of Alice in Wonderland. This, you can imagine the caterpillar sat on top of one of these extraordinary yew cones. They're not yew. I don't know what it is. I think it might be. It's not Monterey cypress, but there is also incredible clipped Monterey cypress. Anyway, and then you go into this room, which is a water feature, and it's a pond with a fountain made from massive clamshells or abalone shells or whatever massive, and they're so white that if you haven't got sunglasses on, it would be like looking at a laser. It's like in the bright Californian sun. It's crazy. So you've gone from this sort of dark topiary Alice in Wonderland into the and then there's these borders, double borders, that are organised just like herbaceous borders. You've got little plants at the front, and then you've got that. They're coming up into the middle, and then up up they go, and they're not herbaceous borders. They're completely comprised of cacti, barrel cacti. Wow! Like a double herbaceous border of barrel cacti. It's just brilliant. It's brilliant. It's this kind of, if you could just, it's like an absolute flight of fantasy garden, where but interestingly, although it's flight of fantasy, it's also been done in such a way that it's environmentally sensitive, because the choice of plants are specific and pertinent to the conditions in California. So all those barrel cacti, herbaceous borders, they're there for a reason, because actually to grow a conventional British herbaceous border would require so much irrigation and so much, it would just be impossible. I can't recommend it highly enough. It's so great. And actually Santa Barbara Botanic Garden as well, for the same reason, because that's a botanic garden which is almost entirely focused on native plants. So there's loads of great stuff like that going on, and loads of gardens that manage to combine, because I think this is the problem when you start talking about environmentally sensitive gardens or gardens that are responsive to climate change or whatever. There's always a bit of a sense that, is it going to take the fun away? Is it going to be like sackcloth and ashes? Can't really. I mustn't water this. Mustn't have fun. But of course, it doesn't have to be like that. because
No.
that garden, for one, Ganawalska Lotus Land, I mean, that is a hoot. It's absolutely just brilliant. Love it.
Sounds it.
Sure,
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, just go and visit. I want to go there again before I shuffle off this mortal coil. Before I join the compost heap, I want to go and visit again, because it is brilliant. Just need a change of president, and then I'll go.
That's it. Yes. Oh, let's not get onto him, can we? No.
Oh God, no. No.
No.
Talked about him
The
last
other
time.
place, yeah. So we were going to go to the States this summer, actually, because my kids finished their GCSEs. My wife had a significant birthday, and 21, and it was like, right, well, let's go to, because Jane and I have both been to the States a lot over the years, and I have a very good friend who lives there, so we were going to go and do that, and then we all kind of collectively went and didn't go. We went to Sri Lanka instead, and we had, talking of kind of incredible planty experiences, we went to the Royal Botanic Garden in Kandy. Kandy is the old capital of Sri Lanka. I don't know if you
I've been to Sri Lanka, yeah.
Yeah, and did you get to the Royal Botanic Garden in Kandy? Oh my word, it's amazing! It's amazing. I'll after this, I'll send you because I'm not clever enough to do it while we're talking, but I'll send you a picture of this Ficus benjamina. So, I mean, I'm sure lots of people listening will have a little Ficus benjamina in the corner of their living room or whatever. Lovely little pot plant, lovely in a little pot with its delicate, And I've got this brilliant photograph of this Ficus benjamina with a group of people standing underneath it, and the people are like that, and the Ficus benjamina is like that.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I mean the stuff and cannonball trees and massive mahogany trees. It's brilliant. It's really brilliant. Just the size of things. There was a little bamboo forest, where you've got. I can't remember which species of bamboo it is. I'm not very good on my bamboos, but it was one that grows essentially, a meter in 2 days. It's like, and the culms on it were like that, and it was, you could just see it rocketing up, and I've got a photo of my daughter standing among the culms of this bamboo, looking tiny. It was a brilliant experience, and well, you'll know because you've been to Sri Lanka. Just the loveliest people.
Yeah,
really lovely people.
And
nice. Extraordinary flora, because that of course is what we what is harder for us to comprehend in a in a maritime climate such as ours, where we have seasons, which I enjoy the seasons very much. Obviously, Sri Lanka, things never stop growing. It's just constant growing season, because it's just tropical, subtropical environment. It's kind of quite crazy situation, really, to think of plants just constantly doing their thing. Brought all sorts of things back. Oh no, I didn't say that, did I? Some seeds might have accidentally got caught in my suitcase.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. Actually, this is one of my favourites. This is, hang on, sorry. This isn't from Sri Lanka. This is from Namibia. So it's a seed pod of a camel thorn tree.
Oh wow, I can hear it.
Almost looks like a dinosaur claw or something.
And it's amazing, isn't it? And it's got an ingumentum on it, which makes it quite sort of furry almost. So it really is like a dinosaur claw. Very cool, isn't it? I don't want to crack it open because you could never grow the seeds into plants, I don't think. But also, I just really like it like that.
Yeah, that's nice.
And this is another one. This is from, I don't even know what this is from, but I picked it up anyway because I thought it was such a great seed pod.
Wow.
That's a good seed pod, isn't it?
That's
just from something, I guess, related to, I want to say in the same family as catalpa, because it's obviously a bean-like structure. But isn't that incredible? Yeah,
Amazing.
Fantastic.
It's great when you see things like that. When and actually, I'm perennially fascinated by seeds and the way seeds are transported and the way plants use, the way something like the Schultzia, aforementioned the Schultzia, and also our native yellow horn poppy, they use that explosive charge to, project their seeds. And Himalayan balsam, I know it's a pest, but it's you can hear it audibly cracking, I find all of that so fascinating, that plants have developed all these incredible strategies, both to survive, thrive, to find little niches, to occupy the smallest spaces, and also to ensure that they are spreading themselves around. It's just amazing.
Definitely. Incredible. Jenny just said she loves South Sikkim and use ants to take their seeds around.
Yeah.
Yes, nature's amazing.
Nature is amazing. And I was pondering this. We tend to think of, it's often nature is sort of couched or sort of framed through this idea of the fragility of nature. And I'm not sure that's entirely right, because I think that nature actually is reasonably resilient. The problem, I think, is that it requires all the component parts to all be resilient at once. And if one part falls down, then the rest struggle, or the rest are disrupted. And I think that's where we as humans need to tread more carefully, because we just don't understand. I find it amazing that we can, put people into space and we can, do all this extraordinary stuff with technology, but we still don't really understand the role of mycelium in soil health.
I knew you was going to say that. I knew you was going to say that. Yeah.
Isn't that correct? I mean, what? Wow. How? I guess that's because you can't really monetize mycelium.
No.
Elon Musk hasn't found a way to, to monetize Jeff Bezos hasn't found a way to sell us mycelium yet. Probably will. But I do find that extraordinary that so much of the natural world is still in relative terms not understood by us, and yet we're striving to go into other spheres beyond the world in which we still don't understand. It's kind of crazy, really, isn't it? Really crazy.
I was writing my little column just yesterday, to be honest, and I thought I'd write about because I done a little wildflower seed bed. Well, it's quite big, really, a couple of years ago, and just trying to write and explain about cold stratification and how the yellow rattle, killed the grass and things. Just trying to get it across to people that maybe aren't gardeners or never heard of it before. It was quite hard.
Yeah, I think it is, because I think we are very removed from it, and we've become removed from it very quickly, strangely enough. I don't know whether either of you have a copy of Richard Mabey's Flora Britannica. It's my favourite book on plants. It's brilliant. It's so Richard Mabey is unquestionably, him and Robert Macfarlane are my favourite nature writers. He wrote Flora Britannica, it must be in the late 80s, so pre-internet age. And what's so incredible about it, and what makes it such a very special book, is that he gathered stories from people around the country about their own relationship with plants, native plants. So there's each plant has, if you like, the sort of the botanical description, and a sort of, but then it's all rooted in folklore and our relationship with plants as people. And so it's the most brilliant read. It's a big old chunky book, but it's so good that once you get into it, it's like bedtime reading. You won't be able to put it down. It's fantastic. And there are certain stories in that which, I was given that when it was a leaving present from a job that I left in 1994. And there are stories in that I find utterly fascinating. For example, the canal system in Sheffield was for 100 years plus the most reliable place to find figs in Britain, growing out of the walls of the canal.
Random.
And the reason was that people would take syrup of figs, which of course had fig seeds in. They'd then go to the loo, strangely, and then that would then end up, sewage would end up in the canal system with the seed. But the critical ingredient in all of this, so ordinarily that just would have washed out to sea, as it did everywhere else in Britain. People were taking syrup of figs all over the place, and the canal sides weren't full of fig trees. So what was the difference in Sheffield? The difference was, in Sheffield, they make steel, and steel requires tons and tons of water to cool down the metal in the process. And that water, that cooling water, which is between 10 and 15 degrees hotter than, by the time it goes back into the canal system, was warming up the canals. And that's enough for the fig seeds to germinate, to stick to the sides of the canals and grow into fig trees.
Wow.
Incredible.
They're brilliant. And it's full of stories like that. It's full of people writing in with their own relationship to plants, their own understanding of plants, and in some instances it will be things like cleavers, the plant that sticks to you like Velcro. There's a brilliant the sort of vernacular behind that is really interesting, in that it's one of the plants that has, I think it's something like 70 different colloquial names around the UK. It's got loads and loads and loads and loads of, didder dodders, sticky willy, lover's grass, valentine grass, etc., cleavers, and on it goes. But the interesting thing about it is that it is, going back to our conversation about writing and words, it's not a static situation, because one of the common names for cleavers in some parts of the country is the Velcro plant. And of course, it can only have been called Velcro since Velcro was invented.
Exactly.
Before Velcro, it wouldn't have been called the Velcro plant. So, it's this brilliant whole thing of, plants continuing to, our relationship with them continuing to evolve, and the way in which we relate to them continuing to evolve. And I find all of that fascinating. It's such a great book, but I'm not sure it could be written now. I'm not sure that there are enough people that would be able to have that, that would have that vernacular knowledge, that contact with plants. And you mentioned yellow rattle, Jamie. That he talks in the book about, how a number of the people who wrote into him, a number of his correspondents, remembered picking yellow rattle seeds and playing with them. That's why it's called yellow rattle, because it's like a child's rattle. and that's what kids in the countryside used to play with as rattles. And I can remember making like pea shooter like things out of the dried stems of cow parsley, for example.
Parsley, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I had a real pang of sadness the other day when I walked past a bench in a park, and somebody had assembled a load of conkers on it, and they were just in a big pile. I thought, God, they would not have been there when I was a kid. We'd have been all over that. We'd have had every single one of them. We'd been and literally like attacking each other with the conquering. And that's gone. I don't recall my kids ever conquering.
No, never.
Probably banned.
I can't remember that.
Probably banned,
a lot of them are not allowed to at school.
Health and safety.
Really sticks in my head, and I don't know what the plant is, the weed plant, whatever it is, but it's normally about maybe 8 inches, very thin but strong stem with a tiny little head on it, and we used to bend it over on top of itself, and you yank it back, and the head would shoot forward. The little gun.
Brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant.
Ribwort plantain.
Yeah.
What was it?
Ribwort plantain.
Plantain. Yeah.
There you go. But just if I said to my son now, what would you do with that? He'd go, you won't have a clue.
No.
I've done that with George whilst walking along a railway walk, so George knows about it.
Does he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I try with, and my kids, I think, are aware of, because I bore them senseless with my, oh, that's a da-da-da, and I'm sure some of it's stuck.
It must have.
Just hang on a sec. I'm just going to quit. I think my dog might need to go out. Excuse me a moment.
All right. Yeah, go for it.
I know that feeling. Dash has been a pain there.
No. All good. All good. Yeah. Sorry about that.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, I think we do not have the contact with plants and nature that we used to have in the way that we used to have. And I'm not sure what the answer is to that, really. I got the train down to London today. I had to go and see a couple of projects, and I am as bad as an ex-person and doom scrolling and all the rest. But I'm trying to make a conscious effort with time on my phone, and I had a couple of things that I wanted to do while I was on the train, little sketches that I wanted to do. So I thought, that's what I'm going to do. And I had my little notebook, and I was sketching, and I was listening to some music, and all good. And I looked up, and I was the only person in the carriage that wasn't looking at a phone. And that's completely fine. And I'm not sort of decrying it. But it was a beautiful sunny day outside the windows of the train, and the world was going by, and there was some lovely autumn colour still hanging on, and interesting things happening in the world. And I wonder whether our evolutionary future will be such that we all have a head angled down like that.
It's going to happen,
and we don't, we don't necessarily be like, hello. Oh, hang on a sec. I'm just going to lie down so I can talk to you. There you go. That will be our evolutionary future.
It probably will.
We'll just
with elongated thumbs.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Elongated thumbs for the texting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scrolling thumbs.
Weird, isn't it? It's weird. I think it definitely does stick in though, because I can remember back when I was a kid, my dad had he was a king gardener and vegetable plot, and I remember all that, and I didn't really get that involved, but I can remember it all. And since I've started to become more interested in gardening and growing my veggies, it's all there. It's all come back out.
Yeah.
So it definitely goes in.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think we have. I think we are, if we allow ourselves to be awed by nature, even, and it doesn't have to be a big spectacular event. We've got a supermoon tomorrow night. Hopefully the weather will be good enough that we can all see it. It'd be brilliant.
Clear enough.
Yeah, that'd be good. I'm much more, infinitely more excited about seeing that than I am seeing some flipping fireworks. But there we go. Don't get me started on those. But I think nature unquestionably has the capacity to provide us with those incredibly memorable and meaningful moments.
Yeah.
Without question. We just need to remind ourselves to. I think we need to remind ourselves to make time and space for those things to allow those things in. But also maybe we just need to sometimes accept that something relatively small, straightforward, can be as meaningful as a supermoon. Like going down on the train today and it's suddenly going from being a bit overcast to being sunny, and I thought, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
It's a small thing, but it's
being impressed by the small, minute rather than the big, wow, flashy.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, because we're surrounded by those little things. We just need to allow them in, don't we? I think there's so much noise in modern life, and it's no one's fault. It's just the reality of modern life is this sort of endless noise, and constant. The noise being so constant that you can't focus on one thing because it's all around you and it's like vying for your attention all the time. And you just need to allow it in. And talking of allowing things in, that's definitely a dog at the door trying to come in rather than go out. Well, I'll back in a second.
Go for it.
Crying. It's probably Dash he's hearing. He's crying at the side of me.
I'm sorry. Poor old fella. There he is. No, he was very upset. There we go.
Oh.
Yeah, my
left him out in the cold.
Yeah.
I'm quite mindful of the time, but I really want to know about graylings.
Oh yeah, graylings.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, it's been an amazing project. It's I feel very fortunate with the work that I get to do and people that I get to work with. There's a great diversity in the work that I do, which is really, really fortunate. And Graylings is one of those projects where the sort of stars aligned, I suppose. It's a really interesting house. It's built by a company called Baufritz, who are a German company that make ultra environmental kit built houses. So basically they're designed and built in a factory and then they're delivered to site and assembled in 4 days. So on day 1 you've got foundations and on day 4 you've got a house with a roof. It's pretty amazing. Obviously then you have to have all the second fix and everything, but you have got a watertight house. And the client wanted the landscape and the house to come from the same place, if that makes sense, to be not from Germany, but to have the same ethos, to be in tune with the environment, to be to feel as if the house was rooted in the landscape and the landscape was in concert with the house. So it's brilliant. I mean, it's like, I remember, meeting the clients, which I think initially it was during the pandemic, so it was over Zoom initially, and it was like, oh, please let me get this job because this is just, this is fabulous. And the house is very distinctive. It's a black clad larch facade. It was on the cover of Gardens Illustrated in July. Nice, lovely big feature, which was very kind of them to put that together. Some amazing photos by Richard Bloom, who's a very, very talented garden photographer. And it is a zero irrigation landscape. So no artificial irrigation, no irrigation system. It's a gravel garden, but it's not all in sun. So it sort of transitions from deep shade, but still a dry garden, into semi-shade, into full sun, which is quite an interesting challenge to do. And I want to do that from a planting perspective, but also use a lot of reclaimed materials. So we were using things like reclaimed granite curbstones to make stepping stone paths and things like that. And there's a lot of plants there that I think are, demonstrate how far the sort of envelope of what we can plant now has changed. So things like Dacylirian wheeleri, the grass plant, which has got those incredibly sharp serrated edges, absolutely thriving there. Bashoneria rather, Yacoides, which has got these sort of big dusky pink inflorescences and a yucca-like foliage. Several different yuccas. Also more mundane things, like in between the plant that everyone got really excited about when it was on the magazine cover, and they put a video online, which got lots of attention on Instagram, was the thyme growing between the granite curbstones. Well, or as everyone said, what's that plant? What is that? And it was just thyme. It's just a purple creeping thyme, but it looks amazing. And then the garden, the sort of planted garden, peters out, and it then moves into wildflower meadow. And because the garden's so steep, it's on the North Downs, it's incredibly steep, a level bit where the main garden is, and then it suddenly drops. So we used, I knew I was going to have to use some kind of containment system to stop the land from slipping, basically. And I thought, oh no, we're going to have to end up, using some civil engineering scheme. But then we ended up finding this coir matting, biodegradable coir matting. We put that on the ground, and then hydroseeded it with wildflowers. And so now the garden just merges into this mass of wildflowers.
Wow.
And in the middle of this mass of wildflowers is what looks like a Japanese tea house, sort of rising out of it, which is a sort of meditation yoga space where you can sit and look out over the North Downs. But it's also a bat roost, as you do.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So it's got a colony of bats living in the roof of the tea house, because when the house was built, there was an old house that had to be demolished, and it was. You've got one there. That's
it?
No. Which one? I think it was June or July. I'm not sure. Jenny's saying, "Is this the photo?" Yes. Is this photos you showed in your talk at Rutland Flower Show? Yes, it is. That is the garden. Yeah. And it picked up an award in Riyadh earlier this year, the Futurescape Global Award, which I never win anything, so that was amazing to get awarded that. And what was really lovely about that in particular was the comments of the judging panel, which really sort of felt like a validation for me. They recognised that it was sort of very much a landscape forward project. That the building and the landscape are very much one and the same. They all are in concert with one another. And yeah, it was really lovely to hear their comments.
Brilliant. Just trying to find it, but I can't find it. I'll have to have a look afterwards.
I think if we've got a copy here. I mean, should have one somewhere. I don't know. I think it's either June or July. I've got every Gardens Illustrated except for the one that my garden's in.
It's typical, isn't it?
Anyway. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
It's been a lovely project to be involved in, and yeah, I read one I'm very proud of, and
And
hopefully,
you first had a conversation with that in lockdown?
yeah.
Wow.
I think on average, it probably takes between 3 and 5 years for our gardens to go from design to completion.
Wow.
I think 3 years is about the fastest, and 4 to 5 years is probably about the average. Yeah,
That's really good then, because you can actually see what it's doing throughout the whole year.
yeah,
And, yeah, see all the different seasons.
yeah. Yes,
Mm.
and actually, the one thing that I would say with doing what I do for a living is that you can never understand a garden in the same way that your client will understand the garden. And I will always sort of defer to my client's understanding of how the garden is at certain times. It can be very difficult just on a few site visits to get that. Well, you can't get that depth of understanding. It's just impossible. So I try and work it so that I see gardens at different times and different periods, and that way it certainly helps to build the knowledge, but it's not definitive, because how could it be? It's just it's not possible.
That's the big thing about people say about show gardens, isn't it? It looks amazing now, but how would it bear in the autumn or winter?
And it wouldn't, because they are absolutely. It's one of the reasons why I find things like the sort of longer term garden festivals like Chaumont and Jardin de Métis in Canada, and those sort of they're more sort of art focused, more sort of installation-y, I suppose, but also the planted aspects of those gardens has to last for a longer period, because they are open for 5-6 months, not just a week. So it's a bit more interesting, I think.
Yeah.
But the short-term show gardens are very much about hanging a portrait on a wall and saying,
doesn't this look good?
Yeah. Or not. Depending on
not saying a word. I think Jo said she's got a question in the question box. Can Matthew give us some advice on how to prune a young column Victoria plum? It's now 6 foot high.
Oh, so sorry. Is it? Did you say it's single stem?
Column, she said.
Column. Oh, so is that a cordon? Do we think?
I don't know.
I assume so.
Jo? She'll be there.
She replies.
Jo.
I mean, I always summer prune.
Yes, single stem.
Single stem, so a cordon. That's quite unusual, isn't it? I'm not sure I've come across a unless it's just a single stem and then it's branch. It's a single stem and not one trunk straight up, right? So so it's not a cordon. It's just it's a tree. So I find I've got a lovely plum opal in the garden, which is a really, really nice one. I always summer prune my plums, always.
Stone fruit.
Yeah. So I wouldn't necessarily. I don't see. The thing with all fruit pruning is, or what I would be mindful of with fruit pruning is, what are you doing it for? Because we quite often on Gardeners Question Time get questions around fruit pruning and I think people have this misunderstanding that they should prune fruit because that's what they've read or seen in a book or whatever.
Yeah.
But of course, most fruit pruning is about maximizing yield. And for most domestic gardeners, you don't need to maximize your yield unless you are thinking of going into selling fruit to a supermarket. Because most people are trying to get rid of. You're trying to. So me and my mates have a fruit collective. We get together every autumn and we pull all our apples and pears, and we've got like a collective kit. We've got a scratching machine, we've got a couple of presses, we've got a pasteurizing machine now, and we make fruit juice. Because between us we've got so much fruit, you could never eat it, and none of us have got apple stores or whatever. Wouldn't that be lovely to have an old Victorian apple store? But we haven't. So we press it and turn it into juice. So I would say for most fruit trees, it's much better to enjoy the shape of the tree, particularly an old fruit tree, if it's got a really lovely character. There's some amazing fruit trees in this village because it used to be a real hotbed for fruit and top fruit, and also strawberries used to be famous, actually, this village for that. And there's some that have got incredible structure where they've been pruned for 150 years and they've got this amazing shape. So I would always caution against pruning with the mindset of increasing yield, and I would say prune more on the basis of improving the shape of the plant or maintaining the shape of the plant. And don't feel compelled to do things. I've got to prune it back to 2 spurs or whatever. Don't forget all of that.
I think that's what Joe was asking, which was more for keeping it in the same size rather than improving yield or anything like that.
Well, I think with my opal plum, I prune it every 3rd summer, and of course because the inevitable then happens. What do trees do when you prune them? Their reaction is to immediately put on growth. So you're in a sort of doom cycle then, aren't you, of pruning, because you're just constantly encouraged. But I try and restrict it to every 3rd year, and I do some structural pruning, and I just sort of open it out a little bit, and I will reduce it back a bit so it's not too top heavy. But a lot of my fruit, so this year in particular, because it's such an incredible year for fruit, so we've got a true quince, Sidonia, and Mespelius, medlar next to each other, and the weight of the fruit is such the quince, the trunk, even though it's it's an established tree, the trunk just started to go over like that.
Oh, wow.
And so I've had to like really go at it and take probably 30-40% of the weight out of it, both fruit and also stems, just so that I can get a crook in it and push it back up again. And the same was true with the Mespelius. It was at risk of just snapping open. So I've had to sort of, take some out. And that, I think actually that's probably, that kind of pruning is probably more important than pruning to enhance yield. It's probably more important that you keep an eye on the structure of the tree when it's have got a heavy burden of fruit.
Yeah, that's not going to destroy itself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh yeah. When my bramley's in full fruit, the branches are touching the floor. Some of them.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And then I see the dogs go and pick them off the tree.
Yeah. Well, we have chickens, and the chickens love to eat the windfalls. Yeah. Windfall apples, windfall pears. I mean, we can't. My wife's standing joke about pears, because obviously we have 3 pear trees, which is. No one needs 3 pear trees. I mean, no one really needs 1 pear tree, to be honest. There's so many pears. There's a lovely variety called Burr Hardy, which is just gorgeous. But Jane's standing joke is that pears are underripe, bin.
Yeah. That's about a day. You get about a day and a half.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah. But they're fantastic if you manage to get them between underripe and bin. Brilliant.
Oh, you can't beat them, can you? They're brilliant. Absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
Well, that's 9:20. I think we better call it a day. Well, not quite.
It's been great fun. Thank you very much, guys.
as
I
ever.
think, have you got a lightning round? 'Cause I think Matthew's already done it.
He
Or have
has
you got
done
a
it,
new
but
one?
I've got the secondary returning guest lightning round,
Oh, okay.
which is a little shorter. So the first one is your favourite garden scent.
Oh, my favourite garden scent. I think that would have to be. It's a rose. It's a rose called Rosary de la Haye, which is an old-fashioned rugosa type rose, and it just has that lovely, really old-fashioned but very beautiful, crisp, light, slightly citrusy fragrance. Yeah, beautiful. Reminds me of my great aunt Frida. She had one in her garden.
Some amazing winter scents, isn't there? Going to be
Oh
coming out of the
yeah,
neck. Oh,
Sarcococca,
Sarcococca
brilliant,
straight away.
amazing,
Yeah.
incredible.
Daphnes. I love Daphnes.
I love Daphnes. Daphne
Mm.
Jacqueline Postel. I love
Yeah.
Daphnes. Really hard to find, to buy though. It's really hard to buy.
Is it really?
Yeah, there's only one or two
Mm.
nurseries that sell it.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Next one, if you could choose 3 people to garden with, who would they be?
Beth Chatto, Christopher Lloyd, and Alexander the Great.
Nice.
Oh.
I'd be interested there. Love that.
Wow.
What is this week's gardening win and fail?
This week's gardening fail is the lawn after the kids' party. This week's gardening win is, well, Jane is still cutting dahlias and bringing them into the house, and they look fantastic still. So that's got to be a win.
Still not had a frost.
Still not had a frost.
Civilization as we know it has ended, and you are one of the survivors. You're allowed to have the seed for 5 plants. What are you choosing?
Okay, so there's got to be a tree because you need wood to make things. So that would have to be, and it's got to be something relatively fast growing.
Yeah.
I think so that would have to be larch because it's fast growing and useful. So larch, then hazel because that's also useful but produces nuts.
Nuts.
So double whammy, useful stems and nuts. Apple. Gosh, I'm being a bit useful, aren't I?
You're going to be
So, apple, strawberries.
Yeah.
I love strawberries. I couldn't live without strawberries. And what would the last one be? The last one would have to, well, cotton.
Oh.
Cotton. I could make a loom. I could weave. I don't know how to
Make
do
a
that.
loom out of your hazel.
Out of the hazel. Yeah, I'd be sitting there then. Yeah. Oh, actually, then I'd also need to have Euonymus europaeus, which of course, famously, the common name is spindle, because that's what they used to make the spindles out of. So I'd need that as well. So I'd have to drop. I can't go back and drop one though. So I might just maybe I'll create a chimera or a bigeneric hybrid that has Euonymus on one side and cotton on the other. No, that's not going to work. Apple on the other.
It's
like
one of those family trees that has got a different fruit on every branch.
Yes, or that wretched thing. What's it called? Plus Labernocytisus beanii, which is a bigeneric chimera hybrid between Cytisus and laburnum. So plus Cytisus laberni beanie, something like that. Anyway, and it manages to do a great disservice. It's a bit like a black velvet, you know, champagne and Guinness. It does a disservice to both drinks, both champagne and Guinness. And plus, Cytisus beanii does disservice to both plants. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Brilliant. If you could go back and give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be?
You'll get there. You will get there. What you know, wherever there is, and whatever there means, and whatever it means, you will get there. It'll be all right.
Great advice.
Yeah,
and the last one, what is your biggest gardening game changer you've ever discovered?
Yeah.
I would say that it would be that moment the switch was flicked and I understood that the plants in our gardens all come from somewhere. Even if they are man-made, they all originate from somewhere. And so all you have to do is follow the path back to where they come from to understand what they need to thrive.
Right.
It's that moment of realizing that that gardens don't just function in isolation, that there's a connection to something else, a bigger thing.
When was that moment? Can you remember?
I can remember. It was summer 2000.
Oh wow.
Yeah. When I started designing the dry garden at Hyde Hall, and what had been a sort of acquaintance with Beth Chatto developed into a friendship, and I began to really sort of understand more about where she was coming from, and also the work that her late husband Andrew had done into the wild homes of garden plants. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Well, a fantastic end.
Pleasure.
Well, it's been a great pleasure. And,
it's been fantastic. Thank you.
Let's do it again sometime.
Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant.
Thanks ever
Cheers,
so much,
guys.
Matthew. Take care.
See you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Brilliant.
Oh,
another good one.
love that.
Philosophical, good stories.
Oh, yeah, brilliant. Just sit back and listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great storyteller.
He is. Definitely is. Right.
9:25, Mark.
Very late.
Yeah. Bedtime. Got my onesie on.
Put your onesie on. Time to go to bed. Ready for work in the morning.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. See you next time.
See you later. Cheers, Mark.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Through the Garden Gate.